Hello everyone. This is a presentation on multiple means of representation, a tenet of universal design for learning. The objectives of this presentation are to explain multiple means of representation, to provide some guidance to course developers with respect to how this tenet affects design, development, and evaluation of the completed course environment, and to discuss the implications of the tenet in each phase of course production. So what is multiple means of representation and what is the importance of it? Well, students vary in the way they perceive presented information. Multiple means of representation is a universal design for learning principle that enables instructors to present materials in various ways so learners can have equitable access to information. So these materials may be presented as symbols, words, pictures, audio, or video. This tenet represents the what of learning in regards to the recognition networks of the brain. In other words, it helps learners to make sense of the information presented to them regardless of variability. Examples of variability in the learning environment include sensory disabilities, learning disabilities, and even cultural differences. Examples of sensory disabilities include blindness or deafness, learning disabilities include dyslexia, and cultural differences include language barriers. Variability requires different ways to approach content. Multiple representation is necessary for the transfer of learning. It enables the students to make connections to and between concepts. This tenet has 3 guidelines with corresponding checkpoints to guide educators in its implementation and use: the perception guideline, the knowledge and symbols guideline, and the comprehension guideline. How does multiple means of representation affect design, development, and evaluation of the completed course environment? Well, if you are a course developer, know that you may incorporate representation principles in research models such as R2D2, C3PO. At the design phase, the principle of the tenet corresponds to R2D2, C3PO reading, listening, and display components. Determine the necessary tools and methods for students to access information at this phase. At the development phase, the tenet allows for the creation of a flexible environment with clear communication. It helps instructors to reflect and make necessary adjustments for a more equitable classroom setting at the evaluation phase. What are the implications of the tenet in each phase of course production? At the design phase, you may capitalize on a course planning tool, which is founded on representation principles. An example of this follows on the next slide. At the development phase, you can build content with HCI enhancement features and assistive technologies. And at the evaluation phase, you can evaluate the choice of representations and make the necessary adjustments. So here's an example of a course planning tool that you are able to use at the design stage of course production. It is a course planning worksheet, so you can use this worksheet to assist learners in accomplishing predetermined or scheduled course goals. I remember watching a video with Peter Smart, head of product design at Fantasy Interactive, where he suggested that whatever you experience at the design phase, that is what the users are going to experience when they use the product that you design. So he said that if while you are designing it, that you are filled with life, then when others use it, they will also experience that. In general, the ADDIE framework is an excellent course production guide that is supported by representation principles. Additionally, as a course developer, you may also consider theoretical perspectives in support of multiple means of representation principles. For instance, in a constructivist learning environment, learners are able to construct new knowledge through multiple means of representation. The principles of this tenet are symbolic of a constructivist learning environment. To conclude, multiple means of representation is a tenet of universal design for learning. It represents the what of learning. Integrating the principles of multiple means of representation in the phases of course production will prove beneficial to the course development, effectiveness, faculty, and learners. The tenet helps instructors to develop learning environment content that learners can perceive and comprehend. The principles of the tenet provides multiple instructional materials and strategies to ensure effective course development. Thank you for watching this presentation.